Pontius Pilate is a figure who has fascinated historians, theologians, and lay people alike for centuries. As the Roman governor of Judea from roughly 26 to 36 CE, Pilate is most famously remembered for his role in the trial and crucifixion of Jesus Christ. While the Gospels of the New Testament provide the most detailed accounts of Pilate's involvement in this pivotal event, other historical sources, such as the works of Jewish historian Flavius Josephus, the Roman historian Tacitus, and the philosopher Philo of Alexandria, offer additional perspectives on his life, actions, and governance. Pilate's actions, motivations, and legacy have been the subject of extensive debate, shedding light on the complexities of Roman rule in Judea and the tensions between the Roman authorities and the Jewish population. Little is known about the early life of Pontius Pilate. It is believed that he was of equestrian rank, a status within Roman society that afforded him certain privileges, but also came with expectations of public service. His full name, Marcus Pontius Pilatus, suggests that he came from a Samnite family, a people from central Italy who were incorporated into the Roman state. Some sources suggest that Pilate served in the Roman military before being appointed as the prefect, or governor, of Judea, a role typically reserved for those who had proven themselves in some capacity to the Roman state. Pilate was appointed by the Roman Emperor Tiberius to govern Judea, a province that was of significant strategic importance, but also one fraught with tension. Judea was a volatile region due to its cultural and religious diversity and its subjection to Roman rule, which many Jews viewed as oppressive. Pilate's primary duties included maintaining order, collecting taxes, and ensuring loyalty to the emperor. As the prefect, he commanded Roman forces, oversaw the local administration, and was responsible for upholding Roman law and authority in the region. Pilate's tenure as governor is marked by a series of controversies and conflicts with the Jewish population. According to historical accounts, he had a reputation for being inflexible, harsh, and sometimes unnecessarily provocative. Josephus, for instance, recounts several instances where Pilate's actions led to unrest. His governance style was characterized by a combination of rigid enforcement of Roman authority and a lack of sensitivity to Jewish customs and religious sentiments, which frequently exacerbated tensions. One notable incident involved Pilate bringing Roman standards-bearing images of the emperor into Jerusalem. The Jewish people considered this act a violation of their religious prohibition against graven images. When a large crowd of Jews protested, Pilate initially refused to remove the standards, but eventually relented after realizing the potential for widespread violence. This incident illustrated Pilate's tendency to provoke local sentiment and his subsequent need to balance Roman authority with the risk of civil disorder. Another incident involved the use of funds from the temple treasury to build an aqueduct. While the construction of infrastructure could be seen as a public benefit, the use of sacred money for what was perceived as a secular and possibly Roman project enraged the Jewish population. This resulted in a large-scale protest, which Pilate quelled by deploying soldiers disguised as civilians, who then attacked the protesters with clubs, causing numerous casualties. This approach to governance, combining development projects with disregard for local customs, further fueled resentment among the Jews of the region. Pilate's insensitivity to Jewish religious practices extended beyond these incidents. According to Philo of Alexandria, Pilate's administration was marked by numerous acts of brutality, corruption, and suppression, all of which contributed to a growing sense of unrest. Philo describes Pilate as a man naturally inflexible, a blend of self-will and relentlessness, and his portrayal suggests a governor who was not only autocratic, but also perceived as unjust by those he ruled. Pontius Pilate is most famously associated with the trial and crucifixion of Jesus of Nazareth, an event that has been pivotal to Christian theology and has shaped his legacy. The four canonical Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, offer varying accounts of Pilate's role in these events, but they all depict him as the Roman official who ultimately authorized Jesus' crucifixion. His involvement in the trial of Jesus is one of the most discussed aspects of his career and has been interpreted in numerous ways. According to the Gospels, Jesus was arrested by the Jewish authorities, who then brought him before Pilate with accusations of blasphemy and claiming to be the King of the Jews. Pilate's involvement began when the Jewish leaders presented Jesus to him, seeking a death sentence. The Gospel suggests that Pilate was initially reluctant to execute Jesus, as he found no fault in him deserving of death. Some accounts describe Pilate as questioning Jesus and appearing puzzled or even sympathetic toward him. He reportedly asked, "What is truth?" during his dialogue with Jesus, a statement that has been interpreted in numerous ways by scholars and theologians. Pilate is portrayed as attempting to find a way to release Jesus, even offering the crowd a choice to free Jesus or Barabbas, a known criminal. However, when the crowd demanded Jesus' crucifixion, Pilate symbolically washed his hands in front of them, declaring, "I am innocent of this man's blood." Despite this gesture, he still authorized the execution, likely to maintain order and prevent a potential uprising. The Gospel of John portrays Pilate as pressured by the Jewish authorities, who threatened to report him to Caesar for allowing a man who claimed to be a king to go free. This account suggests that Pilate may have been motivated by a desire to protect his political position. While the New Testament presents Pilate in a somewhat ambivalent light, other historical sources offer less sympathetic portrayals. Josephus and Philo of Alexandria describe him as a cruel and stubborn ruler who frequently antagonized the local population. Philo, in particular, criticizes Pilate for his governance, citing instances of corruption, brutality, and disrespect toward Jewish customs. Josephus also writes about Pilate's harsh actions, including his execution of Jesus. The Roman historian Tacitus, writing in the early 2nd century, also references Pilate in the context of the crucifixion. In his Annals, Tacitus notes that Christ was executed by Pontius Pilate, the procurator of Judea, in the reign of Tiberius. This brief mention supports the New Testament account of Pilate's role in the crucifixion, and is one of the earliest non-Christian references to Jesus. Historians often debate the motivations behind Pilate's actions during the trial of Jesus. Some argue that Pilate was a pragmatic leader who made decisions to maintain peace and stability in a volatile region. Others suggest that his actions were driven by a desire to assert Roman authority and deter any potential insurrection. The varied perspectives on Pilate's character and decisions reflect the challenges of governing a province like Judea, where cultural, religious, and political tensions ran high. Pilate's tenure as governor ended around 36 CE, following an incident involving a group of Samaritans. According to Josephus, a group of Samaritans had gathered at Mount Gerizim to search for sacred artifacts, believed to have been hidden by Moses. Pilate, suspecting the gathering to be the start of a revolt, sent troops to disperse the crowd, resulting in numerous deaths. The Samaritans complained to Vitellius, the Roman governor of Syria, who removed Pilate from his post and sent him to Rome to face trial before the Emperor Tiberius. However, before Pilate could be judged, Tiberius died, and there is little historical record of Pilate's fate thereafter. Some traditions suggest that Pilate was exiled to Gaul, modern-day France, or that he committed suicide. However, these accounts are largely speculative, and the lack of concrete evidence leaves the end of his life shrouded in mystery. The ambiguity surrounding Pilate's later life has only added to the intrigue that surrounds his figure in both historical and theological studies. Within Christian tradition, Pilate's legacy is complex and varies between denominations. The Gospels portray him as a conflicted figure, one who recognized Jesus' innocence but lacked the moral courage or political will to defy the demands of the crowd. In the Christian narrative, he is often viewed as a symbol of moral indecision or the embodiment of Roman authority complicit in Jesus' crucifixion. His act of washing his hands is frequently interpreted as an attempt to absolve himself of responsibility, a gesture that has become emblematic of evading moral responsibility. In some Christian traditions, particularly in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, Pilate and his wife, traditionally named Claudia Procula, are considered saints. This unusual veneration is based on interpretations of Pilate's apparent reluctance to condemn Jesus and the apocryphal writings that suggest Claudia had dreams or visions about Jesus' innocence. The Gospel of Nicodemus, a later Christian text, also presents a more sympathetic view of Pilate, depicting him as recognizing Jesus' divine nature. These divergent perspectives illustrate how Pilate's image has been shaped by various theological and cultural contexts. Pontius Pilate has been a frequent subject in art, literature, and popular culture. He appears in various works of art, from medieval paintings to modern films, often depicted washing his hands, of the decision to crucify Jesus. In literature, he has been portrayed in many ways, from a conflicted leader to a cruel tyrant. The 20th century Russian novel, The Master and Margarita, by Mikhail Bulgakov, for example, features Pilate as a central character who is depicted in a more complex and introspective light, wrestling with his conscience over his decision to execute Jesus. Similarly, in Jesus Christ Superstar, a rock opera by Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice, Pilate is shown as a man torn between his duty to Rome and his sense of justice. In more recent times, Pilate's story has been explored in numerous films, novels, and television dramas, each offering its interpretation of his character. These depictions range from sympathetic portrayals that emphasize his political predicament to those that focus on his perceived cruelty and moral weakness. The enduring fascination with Pilate in various forms of media reflects the broader intrigue with his role in one of history's most debated events. Pontius Pilate remains a figure of considerable historical and theological interest. While the details of his life and rule are often debated, his role in the trial and crucifixion of Jesus has made him an enduring symbol of the complexities of authority, morality, and governance in a turbulent period of history. His portrayal in various sources, ranging from the Bible to historical records and artistic interpretations, reflects the multifaceted nature of his character and the lasting impact of his actions. Pilate's story continues to prompt reflection on the nature of power, justice, and moral responsibility, making him a figure of enduring relevance in both historical and cultural contexts.